Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. I've got such a special treat for you today. I'm cooking with one of my dear friends, Food Network star, the best Thai chef around, the one and only Tila. We're gonna be making some delicious Thai food. He's gonna show me all of the tips and tricks to making it as authentic as possible. He actually sent me a box of amazing Thai goodies that you can probably see behind me, so that we're gonna be putting to use today. You know, I'm from Jersey. He's in LA, but through the power of Zoom, we'll be cooking together and sharing it with you. So let's go. Jet, thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to have you here. I know we've spoken many times about my love for Thai food. There are a couple dishes you know I love, and you're gonna share some with me today, right?
So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to cook Thai with you, and then hopefully cook some Italian with Thai influences together. I
love it, and I know you are gonna make a curry, which I love. And when I received your goodie box and I was going through it, I immediately knew I wanted to make a version of Thai basil chicken that kind of resembled a bolognese, but like I said, with all Thai flavors.
I'm super excited. So who's starting first?
You're gonna go first because you're the guest and I want to learn from the best. So whenever you're ready, let's get into it.
All right, sounds good. So let's start with the green curry chicken. I'm gonna kind of show you step by step of how we do it in Thailand. I think the first thing we're gonna start with is the green curry paste and the coconut milk.
I'll just follow along.
Brilliant. All right, so in terms of hardware, I think something wide like you have there, a Dutch oven is one of my favorite things. I'm gonna do the curry in a skillet. So I think let's just get our hardware heated up.
You got it.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is start with our coconut milk. The number one tip with coconut milk is don't ever shake the can. Although this can says shake well before use, no need, because in actuality, one can of coconut milk is 2 products. It's actually 3. If we don't touch the can and don't shake it, the top is coconut cream, the bottom is a kind of coconut milk, more water, but shaken together, it's coconut milk. So first thing is we're gonna grab the cream off the top, and then we're gonna put in probably a good 1/2 cup or so.
Okay.
And you have 2 cans there, you could just grab the cream only.
Okay, I'll grab the cream off of both cans, correct?
Correct. And what this is basically pure coconut oil. There's no reason to buy anything like coconut oil by itself because you have all that products in this can. The best coconut milk comes from Thailand, obviously. So the number one thing I want all our friends to check for is product of Thailand, and we're good to go. So are you sizzling over there? I hear you some sizzling happening.
I am. The pan was nice and hot. I added the top of the coconut milk of both cans.
Beautiful.
Now, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
Automatically, I think of wanting to sear my protein first. So why didn't you do that?
That's such a brilliant question. As you and I are classically trained cooks, you can sear protein and get the Maillard effect, which means browning, or you can poach protein, which gives you a nice tender protein. So what we're gonna do is when we get to the chicken, we'll slice it nice and thin, and because coconut oil has such a beautiful natural fat, it's gonna poach and become very tender. So we're not looking for browning, we're looking for more of a soft chicken. So curry, how spicy are you, Laura?
I like it hot. I'm not
Okay, you got
worried.
it. So for about 2 cans of coconut milk, I'm looking at 3 to 4 tablespoons of green curry paste.
Okay.
And that's gonna go right in, and we get that in, and we're gonna rye the curry paste.
All right.
The secret to really delicious Thai curry is this step right here. It is a magic, unknown step, but between cooks, we know we always brown your onions, you always saute your garlic, you're doing the same thing. So get it in there, get it really fragrant. Don't be scared of frying this stuff pretty hard.
I can see this is like doing really good things. I can see the sides are starting to get really brown. It's really thick. It smells incredible.
I'm gonna add my coconut milk in, Laura, because mine is separating, it's nice and brown. So I'm gonna start adding the rest of my coconut milk because that's what I was looking for. So when you get to that point where the paste is brown, the oil has separated, and it's very fragrant, we're gonna just add the rest of the coconut milk.
I think I'm at the right spot because I can see the oil separating from everything else. So both cans?
Both cans is perfect. Okay, so Laura, in Thailand, we make curry paste out of herbs. And here is the base of all Thai curries, right here. I've got garlic, I've got shallots, lemongrass, kaffir lime leaves, and galanga. If I took all these and I pounded it into a paste, that is my base. If I finish that paste with green chilies, guess what kind of curry I just made?
Makes sense.
Green.
You got green
There
curry.
you go. If I took red chilies or other, I would make red. If I added turmeric or curry powder, I'd make yellow. So that's the only difference. That's why, in my opinion, Thai curry is the most palate friendly because it's just made of herbs. There's no really harsh spices there.
I love it. But I will say, it is one of those ingredients that I do think, even though there's very few ingredients to make curry paste, it is one of those ingredients that I feel like it's worth buying because it has everything in there. Like I can't find kaffir limes or kaffir lime leaves anywhere, so I don't have to worry about that if I'm just buying the green curry paste or any curry paste.
You're absolutely right. We're gonna fortify. So if you wanna take maybe 3 or 4 leaves of basil, and it can be either Thai basil or sweet basil or even Italian basil, you're just gonna take it, tear it, and then put it into the curry. We're just gonna fortify flavors now. If you can't find Thai basil, Italian basil is gonna work fine. And then if you can't find Kaffir lime leaves or Thai lime leaves, a little lime zest will work. It's not the same thing, but it's better than having nothing. So just taking a knife and just carefully coming in with really tight cuts. So I'm making them a lot more delicate, so when they add to the curry, they'll break down and they will add a lot of flavor to this curry. So, and on your end, if you have lime zest, go for it. If not, you're really covered because you have it in the curry paste. So is your curry at a boil, at a nice rolling boil?
Yes.
Brilliant. So that's all we're gonna do. Trivia question, Laura. What is the #1 starch that we eat curry with?
Rice, of course.
There it is. So it basically answers a big question I get all the time. Jet, how far do I reduce this curry? And it's very kind of simple. You reduce the curry to the point where it coats rice. And in French, we would call it nappe, right? And all that means is it reduces until it coats the back of a spoon. All right, veggies. You wanna cut some eggplant any way you would do for like a curry or a stew. I either do coins or half moon coins, or actually we'll take the eggplant like this, split it, take it half, split it in half again, and I'll kind of cut kind of medium dices. There's no wrong way to do it, I guess is the point. So let's do eggplant, onions, and bell peppers.
Yum.
How does that sound? Okay, so let's do a curry check. We should be close-ish to coats the back of a spoon. I'm using a silicone spatula, which works really well, and I'm gonna lift it up and let it cool a little bit. I'm gonna run a channel with my finger, and if the sauce doesn't run across that channel, I mean, that is about nappe. That is about the consistency that I'm always looking for to start adding things. How are you doing over there?
Mine is that nappe stage, I can tell you that.
Is there an Italian word for nappe or like the sauce consistency?
My nonna would say vellutata, which means velvet.
Vellutata.
Yes, it should be thick and like velvet.
Perfect. So at vellutata, I'm not even gonna try. At nappe, I'll stick with French. Let's put our chicken in to start the poaching of it. And then in my mind, I'm always kind of thinking ahead. We have bell peppers, onions, which don't take too long to cook. I've already put the eggplant in as well. Once these ingredients get to the point where they're just cooked, we're gonna get into seasoning. I'm gonna start adding veggies now because the chicken was sliced so thin, the coconut milk is poaching it quite quickly. I'm gonna add the baby corn. And again, if you don't like baby corn, if you wanna add a fresh vegetable, feel free. I'm adding bell peppers and onions. I'm pretty much gonna get most of my veggies in and then start seasoning soon.
Beautiful. I'll take the bell peppers and onions. I added the baby corn.
Now let's talk about Thai food seasoning. Tell me about the Italians and the use of anchovy, because it is such a parallel between Italian cuisine and Thai cuisine with our love and our use of anchovies.
In southern Italy, I'm from Naples. My grandfather was a fisherman, so I grew up my whole life around fish, and anchovies was a really big part of it. So for me, I grew up cooking and eating anchovies my whole life, and it's such an important ingredient in my kitchen. That's where my love of fish sauce comes from. I think fish sauce is one of those ingredients that is probably king in your kitchen because of its versatility and because of the amazing salty umami flavor that it lends to everything. It's a salt that you can't replace by using regular table salt.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's season this curry. Thai food is 5 flavors, right? Hot, sour, salty, sweet, savory. Savory can be umami, can be whatever you want. So fish sauce is salt and it is umami, all right? So that's gonna just probably about a teaspoon. There's a lot of flavor that already comes out of the curry. So we've got salt and umami done. The next thing we're gonna deal with is sweet. So Laura, have you ever used or eaten palm sugar?
I never have, no.
It's a very simple sugar. It's not complex at all. When it's fresh, it's pliable, but if it's hard, it's still very good. Just cut it into small pieces. You can grate it. You can do whatever you want with it. It's important to know what all these ingredients taste like by themselves. Let's do some tasting notes.
Ooh, that's like a caramelly, mapley, actually like has flavor to it.
It has brilliant flavor. I think you nailed it. I think it tastes like maple sugar.
Yeah.
When you cut open a fresh coconut and that whiff that you get, which is kind of floral and aromatic, marry that with maple sugar and that's what palm sugar tastes like. Last ingredient we need to play with today is tamarind. Have you cooked with tamarind before?
I know about it, but I've never cooked before with it because I'm a little intimidated by it.
No need. So here is tamarind. It is a potted fruit that grows around the equator. Thai tamarind comes in 3 forms. You can eat the fruit by itself. You can get the block, which is just the fruit and seed. All the shells have been removed. My favorite way to get tamarind is Thai tamarind concentrate, and you have some right there. So I think it's important to taste these ingredients. Let's do some tasting notes.
Sour.
Woo! Woo! I'm awake.
Yeah.
But behind sour is fruity though. Go easy. I would say a half a teaspoon. Laura, I think we've made curry. I'm gonna plate up. I have a combination of rice here. I think a lot of people in the world already know what jasmine rice is. In Thailand, we call it homalit rice, which translates to fragrant jasmine rice. That I have here. I'm gonna show you a new rice called riceberry. And what it is basically a jasmine rice hybrid. You take jasmine rice and then you marry it with a Thai black or purple rice. It's a delicious rice. It's very nutty. It almost has a sweetness to it. So I'm gonna plate over both rice kind of in combo.
I'm gonna do the same.
And I'm gonna do one of these fancy things that one of the local restaurants here in LA does. I'm just gonna do a little 50-50, like what we would call a timbal.
Ah, so I did the same thing, but instead of doing it 50-50 like you did, I did one of the riceberry and one of the jasmine because I am a rice fanatic and I feel like especially in a curry, you cannot have enough. So I would very much like to have both. Thank you very much.
Hey!
There it is.
Oh, did a yin and yang.
I love it.
All right, so you've got 2. You've done one of jasmine and one of riceberry, right?
I did.
I'm garnishing with a little bit of Thai lime leaves. And lastly, of course, to remind our friends, it's green curry. I'm gonna do a little torn Thai basil. And there it is. Laura, I will say bon appetit, French style. You could tell me in Italian style.
Yes, buon appetito. I'm sure this is gonna be amazing. Beyond. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. The jasmine rice is so fluffy and clean. The riceberry rice is a little bit nutty. The texture is different than the jasmine rice, so you're getting a little bit more texture there as well. But really, that's why I did one of each, so that you can kind of combine them all, and you get the fluffy jasmine rice and then the nutty, the berry rice. It's to die for. But this curry sauce, probably the best I've ever had. The best I've ever had, hands down.
I'm so happy right now.
Well, Jay, I can't thank you enough for teaching me how to make an amazing curry. Now I'm gonna clean up and I'm gonna show you how to make a bolognese dip that kind of tastes like Thai basil chicken with all the goodies you sent me. So let's get going. Holy hell, it's so good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and make sort of my version of a bolognese that tastes exactly like a Thai basil chicken. At least I hope.
I am so excited for this. You take the lead. I'm gonna have a lot of Italian questions though.
Shoot me with all your questions. For the ingredients, some of them look very familiar to you. We're gonna be flavoring this with some oyster sauce, some sweet soy, fish sauce. I'm gonna use a little more palm sugar.
Awesome.
And then we're gonna use some basic ingredients that you would find in a meat sauce or a bolognese in Italy. We're using some tomatoes for extra sweetness, a little bell pepper, some mushrooms, onions, carrot, garlic, and some chilies. I've got my skillet getting really nice and hot. I'm using a Dutch oven, of course, a shallow Dutch oven. A little bit of neutral oil. You could use olive oil, something neutral. And then I'm using ground chicken because I want the flavor of that Thai basil chicken, but I also want the texture of a bolognese. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my chicken in. And I want the chicken to cook fully and kind of develop a little bit of color. So just kind of break that up as much as you can with a wooden spoon. And I also have a pot with boiling water that's ready for me to add the pasta whenever we are ready for it. Add a pinch of salt to the chicken.
And kosher salt, just a little bit of kosher salt.
And while that cooks, we're gonna go ahead and chop up our vegetables. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dice the bell pepper, a small dice so that it cooks fast.
Laura, what does the word bolognese mean?
Bolognese is a classic meat sauce that comes from Bologna. The classic bolognese that you would get in Bologna is very simple. You've got your ground beef, you've got your mirepoix, your onions, you've got your garlic, your carrots, and your celery. So technically, when someone says I'm making bolognese, no matter what variety, you can rest assured it's a meat sauce of some sort.
Gotcha, that is brilliant.
Go ahead and chop up some onion. Let's do a half of an onion, just a small dice. Nothing too fancy. And then I'm using some button mushrooms. You could also use cremini mushrooms. It's totally up to you. I think when you add some mushrooms to something like chicken, it kind of gives them a little bit of more of a meaty texture and flavor, which I really tend to like. So I'm gonna go ahead and just slice them. Now your chicken's not gonna get fully browned because if you do that, then you're gonna overcook your chicken.
So Laura, what was the inspiration to kind of do the Thai and the Italian mashup here?
So I wanted to obviously use all Thai flavors, but I wanted to utilize them in a way that was very familiar to me so that I felt like the dish was authentically me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I love this. It really is a cultural exchange. I think food is a way to kind of get to know our cultures, and I think what we end up realizing is we are more alike than anything. You know what I mean? It's super cool.
I completely agree, and I think that's the great thing about food. So I love it. I think it's the best way to get to know a place and a person. So I'm gonna chop up some garlic. I'm just gonna slice it up.
Okay, so slice, not crush.
Doesn't matter. You can crush it, slice it, chop it, whatever your heart desires. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of neutral oil into my skillet. I took the chicken out. Did you take the chicken out? Perfect.
I pulled the chicken out. I followed you. I pulled the chicken out.
Perfect.
Adding a little bit of neutral oil back to the pan.
Yep, add a little neutral oil right back into the pan. I'm just gonna add the peppers, the onion, and the garlic. I'm gonna add the mushrooms in a little bit, not just yet. And I'm gonna also go ahead and take a carrot, and I'm gonna just give it a dice, a small dice.
Okay, got it.
I like being able to add sweetness to a meat sauce, and I always like to add carrots. Take your time. I'm just sauteing the onions and the pepper and the garlic nice and slow. No rush.
It feels like you're building like a semi like mirepoix.
Yes, it's the foundation to a lot of different sauces. You've got your onions and your garlic and your carrots, and then you can add additional things. I love the balance of like salty fish sauce and then the sweetness of the vegetables, and then you've got this amazing combination of the sweet soy sauce and the oyster sauce that gives you amazing, beautiful glossiness, but also such beautiful flavor.
Oh, this is such a fun dish.
I am gonna go ahead and add 2 red chilies. I'm not gonna chop them. I'm gonna pierce them and I'm gonna add them in.
I'm gonna watch you do that.
I like to just pierce it with a sharp
Okay,
knife.
you're literally poking holes and not opening it up for the seeds to come out.
Nope.
And you're using Thai chilies. That's awesome.
I've learned my lesson that not all of them play nice. I use them this way so that I get all of that beautiful mild heat, but I don't get any of the fieriness that can come along with some of the seeds.
That is smart. Am I sweating or am I browning? Which should I be looking for in the pan?
You're gonna lightly brown. And then I have these really beautiful small vine-ripe tomatoes. You could use cherry tomatoes, you could use whatever. Again, this is kind of gonna give you a little bit of sweetness. So I'm just gonna quarter them.
If I'm using cherries, can you give me the technique? What am I doing with these cherries?
Just cut them in half. Just slice them.
Okay, just half.
Yep.
All right.
I gotcha. So whenever the tomatoes are ready, you can add the tomatoes right to your onion mixture.
Okay.
Add them right in.
Got
Let them sweat, maybe like a minute or so. I'm gonna hit them again with a little pinch of salt, just a little. I like every layer of my dish to be seasoned. That's how I find you get the most balanced.
That is great advice. Every layer, season every layer. We say that all the time. I love this. The onions are caramelized, the garlic, the tomatoes are popping. They're bringing acidity and brightness.
Yep.
Oh man, this is really beautiful.
You can go ahead and now add your mushrooms and carrots. Add them right in.
Okay, mushroom and carrots, heard.
Yeah. And again, salt. So I do have a question about Thai ingredients, if you will.
Okay, what is it?
So I live in a part of Jersey where I like to call it the middle of nowhere. But what is my best bet for sourcing Thai ingredients? What should I look for to make sure I'm getting an authentic Thai product?
The best advice I give everybody when you're looking for Thai ingredients, number one, look at your labels, no matter if it's soy sauce, oyster sauce, fish sauce. I'm looking for something that says product of Thailand. The number one route to flavor authenticity, firstly, is origin of the country, right? So I'm cooking Thai food, I want product of Thailand. The second thing I'm looking for, I look on the label, and if you see the little gold T, right? T for Thailand, it's basically the Thailand trust mark. So the government has said, this product is from here, made by a very reputable company, and we trust it. So that's it. If you look for those two things, no matter if you're at a grocery store or the internet, anywhere, if you find that the product is Thailand and you find it's a Thailand trust mark, you'll always be good to go.
Okay.
You can't go wrong. And I think as chefs, people think we're making commercials all the time. We're just trying to give you the right resources so you have the right ingredients, because the right ingredients means authentic flavor. So
Exactly.
It's so important of where your stuff comes from.
Okay, so at this point, your veggie mixture should be looking like this. So now you can take your chicken and add it right back in.
Okay, chicken goes back in, chef.
And now let a little bit of Thai basil,
Ooh.
which I know you can use regular sweet basil.
How many leaves, chefs? How many leaves are we talking about right now?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Okay.
We'll add more at the end and it's gonna be so good. But really, if you can get your hands on Thai basil, do, because it is, to me, it's like basil times 100. It is.
Yes.
It's so fragrant and amazing. So crank the heat up a little bit, because I want this to get really nice and hot.
Okay, I'm cranking up the heat to maximum now.
I'm gonna deglaze this pan with a little bit of chicken stock. Just a little bit, like a 1/4 cup.
Oh, like just a tiny literal pan deglaze. Okay.
And it's basically to lift anything that got stuck and created that fond at the bottom of your pan. So fond is that goodness, I call it free flavor, right? When you take the time to sear something or to perfectly saute something, you'll get those little brown bits that kind of get stuck in the bottom of your pan, right? A lot of people will wash their pan. It makes me crazy. That is so much depth of flavor happening under there. So you want to lift it because now you want that flavor to be part of your sauce, right?
I love that. It's free flavor, folks.
Free flavor. All right, now let's work on the sauce that takes this from like your bolognese to your Thai basil chicken, okay?
Okay.
So in my measuring cup, I have a little bit more chicken stock. So add about 1/2 cup of chicken stock, about 3 tablespoons of this sweet soy. Now, I'm new to sweet soy, and I'm absolutely loving it. So I would love for you to explain the difference between regular soy and this Thai sweet soy.
As you know, most soy sauce is made from fermented soybeans and salt, and through the fermentation, it makes a lot of glutamates or umami. All sweet soy is the inclusion of molasses, right? A sugar product, and that's why you get this beautiful dark pour.
Beautiful. And then we'll just do a couple tablespoons of oyster sauce.
And a couple tablespoons of oyster sauce, lovely.
And then
Got it.
I go with a full tablespoon of fish sauce.
Yes.
It's up to you, but I think with the sweet soy and the sweet, I think it does need a little extra saltiness, so I do go with a fat tablespoon, and sometimes at the end, I do add more. So, you know.
Yeah, you know you're cooking with an Italian and a Thai guy when we are not scared of fish sauce and anchovies.
I'm not scared of it, I can tell you that. And then I give everything a little bit of a stir, and I am gonna add some palm sugar to this as well. I have the whole palm sugar, so I just take a knife and I just kind of give it a bit of a shave or a chop. So whenever your pasta water is ready, that's when we will add the pasta to it and then add the sauce to the chicken. So for this amount of water, I'm probably gonna add about a 1/4 cup of salt.
Okay,
this is coarse kosher salt, so if you're using a fine table salt, you'll want to use a lot less, probably a couple tablespoons. So I always do half the amount if you're using a fine. Don't be shy.
Okay.
Perfect.
And then?
Go ahead and drop your pasta. I'm going to drop about 8 to 10 ounces.
8 to 10 ounces. What kind are you using over there? It looks very fancy.
I'm using pappardelle, which are just these really beautiful thick noodles. You could use fettuccine, you can use tagliatelle, you could use anything that you want.
I'm gonna use fettuccine. I have fettuccine here.
Perfect. We love a fettuccine. So now that we have the pasta in, I'm gonna go ahead and add the sauce that we made.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and add it right in, and I'm just gonna keep it on low because I want all of this to kind of cook together slowly and do its magical thing. I'm gonna add my sugar, my palm sugar, right into the pan because it'll melt right as it touches something hot.
So smart, so smart.
Beautiful. And now you're just gonna keep this on low. And it may not look like there's enough sauce, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna also add a little bit of the starchy cooking water. But right now I do wanna add some more Thai basil.
Okay.
Because there really no...
No, man, this is so fun. You're also teaching me about using pasta water. And most people just throw that out when they dump it out. You need to, you like to use it for thickening?
So 9 times out of 10, when I cook pasta, I always reserve some of the starchy cooking water. When you add that starchy cooking water to your sauce and you add your pasta, the pasta will familiarize itself with the sauce because of the starch, and then you'll create a beautiful, almost like an emulsion. It'll become really thick and beautifully glossy, and the sauce immediately sticks to the pasta.
That is brilliant, and it's really, really great advice.
I'm gonna just tongue in my pasta.
Okay, I'm bringing the heat up. I'm gonna
add that right in. Don't be afraid to get some of that water in there because we are gonna ladle about a 1/4 to a 1/2 cup of sauce right in. And then crank your heat up a little bit so everything's really bubbling. The magic of some of that starchy cooking water, which I'm taking about a 1/4 cup.
All right, I'm gonna follow you, a 1/4 cup of the pasta water.
Crank the heat up so that it's really bubbling. I'm gonna add a tiny bit more of the sweet soy because I'm obsessed. I've never played with it before, but it is amazing, and I imagine it would be really wonderful in marinades because of its flavor and texture. And
you nailed it. You nailed it. Think about the practical applications like marinades, like barbecue sauces, anywhere you need something salty and something sweet. That's exactly where it should go. That's exactly right.
That would be amazing. Over here, you can see the sauce has gotten really thick and it's coated that pasta really beautifully, and it's absorbed all of the liquid. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn this off. The key is to really keep everything moving so that you give every strand the possibility to soak up all of that beautiful flavor.
You can actually see where there was about an inch or two of sauce. It actually is sucked up into the pasta.
It does. That's why it's so important to take your pasta out when it's just a little bit shy of al dente. That way you can finish it in the sauce and you don't run risk of overcooking it.
We're plating, chef? Is that what we're doing?
Yep. I just like to plate and then I top it with some sliced chili because I like living on the edge.
Oh man, you don't play around.
I really don't. And some more fresh basil and we are good to go.
Look at that. Look at that.
A little bit of basil. Thai basil is like one of life's greatest pleasures. Thank you very much.
And you're actually going for some chili on top too, huh?
I am. And I feel like it kind of gives you a little spice confetti on top. And there you go. As my friend Tony Soprano would say, bada bing, bada boom.
I'm ready. I mean, this looks fantastic, Laura. I mean, wow, look at that. Oh man. It's savory, it's sweet, it's herbaceous. Such phenomenal flavors. This dish really is the perfect marriage between Thai food and Italian food. I mean, the way you use fish sauce and sweet soy and oyster, all things that you think that they're Thai flavors, and you wrap them into basil and garlic and onion. This is so cool.
I've loved cooking alongside with you today. I think we made some really delicious dishes that kind of represent us in a really authentic way, but it's also kind of pushing me out of my comfort zone. And that's really exciting. I love playing with new flavors. However, an Italian girl has an amazing memory. And if I remember correctly, you promised me a cocktail to end the day. So if you would, I would love for you to take us through in making an amazing Thai cocktail that is really gonna finish off the day on a sweet note, as my nonna would say, because no meal is complete without it.
I love it. Let's do it. I'm gonna show you how to make one of my favorites, a Thai coconut colada. And the cool thing about this is you can actually do kids versions. I just take out the coconut rum, and it's just a very fun blended drink for the kids as well.
I don't know if you know this, but I live for a colada.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with about 2 cups of ice. That's gonna help us get that kind of a foamy, icy situation.
Okay.
I like that you're using cubes and I'm using crushed, which basically tells everybody it doesn't matter what kind of ice you're using. So now it's time to add pineapple juice and some coconut cream or coconut milk. These are all Thai products. I've got some pineapple juice from Thailand. You've got coconut milk, right? Which is perfect.
Perfect.
And I'm using coconut cream, which is basically just the stuff off the top, very similar to what we did with the curry to start the curry.
Okay.
And we're gonna go equal parts. About 1 cup of each, so the pineapple juice goes in.
I much prefer using this type of coconut milk from a can in my drinks versus like the kind you put in your coffee, because you get such a richer flavor and the texture is like, it's nice and thick and delicious instead of having it be really liquidy.
And it's okay to use these boxes too. This is what we call like a ultra high temperature pack. So it comes in these kind of quart containers. They stay shelf stable for forever, and they're super fragrant. I mean, it really is like cracking a mature coconut. It's very delicious. Now this is up to you, Laura. I'm using coconut rum. I would say 2 ounces per beverage here. So, but if you want to get a little crazy, I'm not going to be mad at you. This is the kind of stuff that sneaks up on you and you're like, whoa, I didn't know I got so much of that. So I'm going to leave the amount up to you there.
I will not mention how much I used. How about that? We'll leave that to everyone's imagination.
That's brilliant. I just really wanted to take us to the tropics. We're gonna blend this up. It's gonna be a little loud. Just blitz it until it's nice and even and it's foamy and we're ready to go. So let's do some blending.
It's gonna be so loud.
Yes, exactly. Is yours nice and thick?
It is amazing. She's thick.
Oh, that smell of fresh coconuts and pineapples. That's it. It's that simple.
I'm so ready. Look at me.
Oh, yes. I'm gonna take about 1 of the maraschino cherries on top. And it doesn't hurt to just get a little of the juice in there, just for a little garnish.
Look
so
at
the garnish
that.
is up to you, either a spear or you can just cut a little circle and then cut them into quarters or eighths. And then I just cut a little notch right in the middle so they go right on top of the glass.
I'm ready. Look at me. But honestly though, it's much better if you kind of like dunk it in there because it gets in the way.
So here's our Thai colada. I really am curious what you think about it. Let's do a taste.
Okay, you don't have to test me twice.
Here's what I love about this. You really taste the difference when you have authentic coconut milk and really high quality pineapple juice. And then that rum just finishes it. It almost tastes like a gourmet version of a colada, I gotta say. What do you think?
It's like comparing homemade bolognese to something in a jar. I mean, there's no comparison. The coconut is sweet, the texture is incredible from the coconut, and I think the pineapple just kind of offsets that sweetness, and the rum just kind of gives you a little something happy, It's like the perfect blend, and I think it's the perfect thing to end a celebratory day, or if you just want to feel like you're somewhere else, if you want to just treat your family, minus the rum for the kids, it's kind of a perfect beverage in my opinion.
Laura, I gotta say, I had so much fun cooking with you today. To you and your family, much continued success and health. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I cannot wait to do this in person. All of the good things for your family, for you. You know, it was a wonderful day, and I can't thank you enough.
Salute to you.
Salute.